Hello and welcome back to the fishing YouTube channel that is addicted to angling. I'm back on the beach. It's blowing a big southwesterly tonight, so I've come down to Felixstowe. Now Felixstowe is a beach that in a westerly it fishes fine, but in a southwesterly, anything with a southerly in it is smack bang in your face. And it's blowing up to 40-mile-an-hour gusts tonight. So I've had to find somewhere to go and hide up. So I've come down to a place called Jacob's Ladder. It's an area that curves around from a place called the Fludgers. You walk down some steps, behind you you've got a wall, to the left hand side you've got a wall, and then you've got a rock berm that goes out into the sea as well, deflecting the wind over you, and I am comfortable as anything. I walk down the cast, I'm getting buffeted about, but when I'm sitting here it is absolutely cozy, which is fantastic. Now, the rod's been out 5 minutes. I looked up, I was getting ready, setting up all the camera gear, and I looked up and the rod tip was banging round. Now it's fairly rough ground here, it didn't look like a cod bite. Now I know for a fact that the tides are big, we're coming into March, spring's coming, that can only mean one thing. That's right, the doggies are back. Cat sharks, as they should be known, dogfish as they're now more commonly known. Now these are one of the fish in this country that a lot of people dislike. A lot of people hate them, a lot of people really, hello mate, a lot of people don't like catching them, but to me, look at the markings on him. He's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and he's a shark. You know, he is a member of the shark family. So catching them, yeah, if you're fishing for a certain species like rays or something like that, bycatch, they can be so annoying. But to me, when I come out just on a pleasure session, catching these, absolutely fantastic. And the main thing to me is with these, don't know if you can see his eye is lovely, he might have closed it. Beautiful little fish. But to me, if these are about, rays should be about, and it's a sign that on the east coast, spring is coming. So I'm going to get him back. Stick with me for the rest of the session. Who knows what I could pick up? Like I say, it's rough ground. There could be absolutely anything out there this time of year. So stick with me. I'll take you through my session tonight. It's 3 hours into the flood. I'm going to fish up, over high and down the other side a couple of hours. High tide around about midnight, and we'll see what we can get. So crack on and let's see what happens. Woof woof. But that's not a bad start, is it, to be honest with you? You know, a doggy fishing the east coast, you know, East Anglian coast. It's not the greatest coast in the world. We have to work for our fish here, you know. There's not a lot of, we don't get tope. We do get tope, but hardly ever we get them off the shore. We don't get really many spurs. Thornback rays are really the only ray we'll get. And you know, on a night like this in March, starting off with a doggy, I am not that gutted at all about it. But rig wise tonight, like I say, it's a little bit rough out here. This is the rougher end of Felixstowe. There's a lot of rock out there. There's a bit of ruins further down from an old fort from years and years ago. So of course I'm not using a rotten bottom or anything like that, because it's just a case of get the lead up and wind as fast as you can, get that lead in the water, keep your rod high, get that lead up and skimming across the surface. And if you've got a fish on, obviously your lead is away from the rocks and you're hardly likely to get snagged. So I'm using 6-ounce lead, Gemini splashdown clip, 80-pound rig body to 20-pound amnesia to a single Cato 3.0 hook. And on this, the banquet for the dogfish which I am creating is, I've got some small dirty squid, which, you know, I don't use a bait and needle or anything like that. Literally get it on the hook, fold it over, take your cotton, elastic, latex, whatever you want to call it. You know, there's no, I'd rather wrap it on straight onto the rig. There's no slipping, no sliding then. You know, I feel if you form it sometimes on a baiting needle, there's a chance that bait could deform in the water. You know, it could slip, it could mask the hook. You know, don't get me wrong, gives good bait presentation, but I just prefer to do it like this. So, little tiny whole squid, straight on, more elastic around the eye of the hook, and then behind that I went out today because I know that there could well be a chance of, dare I say it, a little codlin. I went out today, no blacks, couldn't be bothered to get any lugs, so I got some fresh blacks, not fresh blacks, got some frozen blacks. There was no fresh around, sorry. And I'll be honest with you, I got them from a local tackle shop in Felixstowe, and they're probably the worst frozen blacks I've ever seen. You know, there's some in there which are literally just like a little tiny thin piece of cotton. So lesson learnt there. And then, like, that's all I'm doing. The back of the squid, if you can see that, frozen black, folded over, whipped onto the back of the squid. Give it a little bit of scent in the water. If there's any fish out there that are going to eat the worm, like, you know, like, dare I say it again, codlin. I mean, if we catch one tonight, I'll be over the moon, but it's a big tide. They may be moving through. They were here a little while back in this area, but, you know, I haven't really heard that much about them since. So we'll see. It could just be a dog fest tonight, but if it is what it is, and it's a fish, you know, it's not a blank. The winter's going away, spring is coming in. So there we go. Single 3/0 hook, little baby squid, frozen black wrap to the back of it, 6-ounce lead, single pulley rig, and I'm just clipping that into the splashdown. Clip that into the splashdown to create a streamlined cast. When it hits the water, it releases, and Bob's your uncle, you're fishing. Right, first cast is set out. That bait had not been in the water hardly, what, 10 minutes? Reeled it in, it was still formed perfectly, it hadn't slipped. You know, I was squeezing it, there was still a lot of scent in it, so I just whacked it straight out because I hadn't double patted up another rig. But I'm going to get that other rod in, cast out this second bait, and let's see where we go. Right, my tools for tonight are Yuki Evo reel, loaded with 80-pound braid going straight through. The good old Bosphorus, heavy type of fixed spool reel that is, all the way up. If you can see my tip there, I've put some Mighty Bright on my tip so I can see it, because it didn't come with any sort of indication on it. And this is the swimlet, or the swim. This is the area I'm fishing. Got some good old graffiti on the wall there. The local Utes have been out in force, graffiti in it. Lovely bit of artwork to keep you entertained while you're sitting here, you know, try and decipher what every little thing means. Goodness knows what that is. It's got a smiley face though, so it must be something fairly happy. And you walk down those steps to get down here, park up at Fludgers, walk round, come down the steps, and this is where I'm fishing. Now, I don't know if you can see that. A little bit of a sea running, like I say, southwesterly. It is going to be a little tiny bit blooming rough out there. Bit weedy, there is a tiny bit of weed coming through. But the fish are there, obviously, as we've seen with a doggy so far, so can't go wrong. So those are the tools, that's the area I'm fishing. Oh, another little top tip. Bucket with some water in it. Not only is that good for fish care, but whenever you bring your lead in and you're fishing somewhere like this, because this is clayey bottom and it's sandy, so if you drag the lead across the sand, you get grit and stuff like that within the lead where the grippers go on, meaning that if you cast out next time, your grippers might not be locked in place properly. So you just dip your lead in there. If you catch a fish, you drop it in. It's all about fish safety, fish care, and then also for pictures, it keeps your fish looking nice. They're not covered in sand and stuff like that. So yeah, right, second cast out. Who knows what's going to happen? We'll see what happens and we'll crack on. Right, a little bit of a sip rep for you. I've dropped another doggy in the surf. Well, I think it was a doggy, I didn't see it. Gave a typical doggy bite. Kept doing that, you know, sort of bam, 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 you know. It looked like a doggy, it felt like a doggy, there was weight on there. Obviously no nods or anything like that. Came in like a sack of spuds. Got it into the surf. The surf is actually getting quite heavy now, close in, and it just took it straight off the hook. So a bit gutted about that. Have got another bite developing at the minute though. Whether it comes to anything, we'll see. I've had to move back a bit as well because the water with this southwesterly and this fairly big tide, it seems to be pushing it up higher than normal. And where I was sitting, even though when I got down here, I'd look for the watermark and set back from the watermark, 2 hours to go until high tide, that water is crouching really, really close. So I've moved right back to higher ground, left the rod, I'm walking down, casting out, bringing the rod back to me. So the rod's landing in the same place I was fishing before, I'm just further back from that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Lovely little spot. I've had a little bit of rain, but obviously got the shelter up, so I'm protected from the water. And we'll just crack on and see what happens. I reckon over high tide, bit of slack. I don't reckon we'll see much then until half an hour into the ebb. But we'll see. I'm going to stay here for a little while into the ebb, like maybe 2 hours or so. See if anything comes through. But yeah, let's see if we can get some more fish. Well, there I was, just saying to you, had a bite developing. Sat there, slackened off slightly, and another dom-dom. Reeled it in. A little bit of weight on the end. Yet again, no kicking. And another little dogfish. Cat shark, dogfish. Call them what you will. Absolutely stunning fish. They really are. I can't see why people don't like them. The markings on them are fantastic. When all else fails, they'll give you a bite. You know, beautiful little fish. Look at that. The markings on that are absolutely stunning. I love them. I really do. It's just the eyes on them. They are sharks, like I say, or a member of the shark family. I don't know if they're called carpet sharks, maybe other places of the world. But we know them as dogfish or cat sharks. Beautiful. Like I say, a fish is a fish. That's 2 fish now, all coming on the squid and blacks. I'm going to get him back. Someone's left the kennels right open tonight. I think we're going to see a lot of these tonight. Not the biggest. I've seen some really chunky doggies on this coastline before. Ones that I actually sat there and thought to myself, you know, is that a huss? I have had a little huss from this coast before, around the corner at Bordsey. Only one I've ever seen. A little bit smaller than this. Looked at the coloration on it. It was bigger blotches on it, much bigger spots. And then when I checked the nasal flaps on a huss, they're slightly pointed. They overhang. Took some photographs. I knew what it was anyway, but I double checked and it was a huss. And that's the only one I've seen. And I think at that point, I think it was a big tide last year, and I think there was 2 or 3 others caught as well, which I can remember coming out. Different people, match anglers, caught them. I put the picture up and they said, you know, I had the same, we thought it was something different. So what it must have been, it literally must have been a load of them coming through for some reason on that big tide, and then we never saw them again. But where did they come from? You know, you don't get big huss around here, so they must have travelled quite a way to get here. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to put him back, the rod's back out, I'm going to get this rig baited up and let's see if we can get another fish. Well, it's coming up to high, and it's safe to say that sea is getting up. It's definitely a good job I moved. Bit of a sea running now. Definitely going to turn soon though, hopefully. See if we can get some more fish. I haven't had any more bites or anything for about 20 minutes, half an hour now. It's definitely lumping up a bit. Hey-oh, get over high tide. Let that tide start ebbing. Hopefully it'll die down a bit. And we'll see what happens. Mate, that sea has got massively lively. I'm not lying to you, the swell that's started now is absolutely insane. It should be ebbing by now. I thought it was just kicking up because of the turn of the tide, but I'm telling you something, that is a lumpy sea. There's white horses as far out as I can see. I've had my head torch on. I've switched to 7s because I just want to hold bottom. Even if I can't see bites, I want that bait to be holding bottom, giving it 25 minutes, reel it in, change over, cast it out. That is a coddy sea, you know. I normally scoff when people say coddy sea, but that it's insane. It's crazy. It really is. I've not seen a sea like that at Felixstowe for a long time. It is heavy, it's lumpy, it's smashing in. It is absolutely freaking insane. It really is. But like I say, I've got 7s on, the tide's turning, it might even have turned, but as far down, as far out as I can see, it is just white water, lumpy, smash, smash. That would have put the doggies off. The doggies are going to be gone. They're not going to be hanging around in that. The only thing I can see now is maybe Nick a pouting, or like I say, 1,000,000 to 1 chance of a codling. But whether they're there or not is a different story. Bass, I haven't seen any bass come off this coast yet. If it was May time, I'd have peeler crab now and I would be sitting there. 7-ounce lead, long trace, flicking it out just beyond where it's the worst, you know, sitting beyond there, because the bass will sit where the surf is and where it's smashing in. They'll be in and out of that surf, you know, because there'll be little fish getting smashed up, there'll be crustaceans getting smashed up, and they'll just be in and out and smacking it, and that is where I'll be fishing from. But this time of year, they're not there yet. So it's now a case of sit it out for an hour, see what happens if it carries on like this, because the sea is holding up. You know, that surf is holding, it's not moving back yet. It is literally, it's almost as if the wind and the tide are just holding that crappy, nasty, smashy waves right close in. But like I say, we'll give it an hour, see if it starts to ease off, see if it becomes, it's fishable, don't get me wrong, I'm holding bottom, but, what's that? Slacker than Katie Price, that is. And we'll just see what happens, but I'll keep you going, see if I can get another fish or two, and I'll let you know how it's going in a little while. Well, I'm having this cast and I'm going to see what's happening, to be honest with you. Bait's coming back untouched, it's obviously sitting there, there's no twists in the snoods or anything like that, but it's proven to be a bit of a change of a session. It weren't too bad when I turned up. The doggies were there. Obviously, you know, I missed a couple. Dropped one in the surf, and now it's lumpy bumpy, as they say. Tips, yeah, 7 ounces holding all right, but the tip is slackening off every now and then, so that swell is moving the lead. But we'll see what happens. Let's give it half an hour. See if it drops off, see if I pick anything up. It's starting to rain as well, so it could be the close of the session and the very last cast, but we'll see. Well, that is the end of the session. This southwesterlies on this coast, it kicks up a lot of weed. I don't know what it is here, but with a southwesterly you'll get so much weed kick up. When I turned up, even with the southwesterly blowing on the flood, the weed wasn't there. You know, I thought at the back of my head, really good job. You know, I thought the weed hasn't turned up yet, it'll probably turn up on the next set of tides tomorrow. Ebbs come through, and with it the weed is tanking through. I kept getting slack lined over and over again, tightening up, slack, reeled in heavyweight. I knew what it was straight away. Big massive clump of weed. I've checked all of the front of the breakers, and there's a lot of weed in there as well. So it's not unfishable, but I'm going to leave it at that. You know, I've had a couple of doggies. If it would have stayed calm, I'm pretty sure we would have had a lot more fish, but it is what it is, you know. It's just one of them things. The sea, it's a beast. It can change in the drop of a hat, you know. You can reap the rewards from it, or it can absolutely destroy you when you're fishing from the shore. But if you're watching this and you got this far, please subscribe to the channel. We've got so much more sea fishing coming through the summer, carp fishing as well. The sea fishing is going to take precedent, you know, that is my bread and butter. I do love the sea fishing. We've got sole, hounds, rays, everything's coming soon. Springtime is going to spring. And if you're watching this through Facebook, which I know a lot of you do, please come out of Facebook, go into YouTube, type in Addicted to Angling and subscribe that way. You will just get highlighted every time a video gets released. You won't have to wait for me to share it, you'll see it come up straight away on your YouTube. But thank you so much for watching yet again, really appreciate it. If you've got this far, couple of doggies, not everyone's cup of tea, like I say, but it's just one of them things. Anyways, you all take care of yourselves, and I will see you by the water very soon.